The question stem sounds a bit fancy, but practically this simply means we need to figure out an answer choice that strengthens the argument. So this is a strengthening question. The last sentence of the paragraph is the conclusion here, and the missing link is between all the information provided and the conclusion here. It has been mentioned that the illustrator retains the right to sell the original copies of the illustrations, and the publisher retains the right to use those illustrations for merchandising purposes. The conclusion is that illustrators should retain the right to reproduce the original copies on commission. See, the gap in the reasoning here is that the conclusion is about reproducing the original copies. And see, answer choice C, the correct answer choice, fills the missing link perfectly by suggesting that in terms of the factors used to determine the allocation of rights, reproducing the original copy of an illustration on commission is more nearly comparable to selling the original copy of the illustration than to merchandising the illustration. See, the publisher gets the right for merchandising and the illustrator gets the right for selling the original copies of the illustrations. The conclusion is about illustrators retaining the right to produce the original copies on commission. Imagine before therefore here, if this entire information is inserted suggesting that producing the original copies is more similar to selling the original copies of the illustrations than it is to merchandise the illustrations. The question is fairly straightforward. It's just that the vocabulary involved is very complex and GMAT would do that very often. A very simple reasoning would start looking complex just because of the vocabulary involved. C is going to be the correct answer choice. Let's also look at the other answer choices. What revenue is higher does not have any impact on the conclusion of the reasoning. So this is not a fine strengthening statement. That illustrators are less likely to merchandise is something that is already included in the paragraph. The paragraph mentions that merchandising is something that publishers retain the right of. The conclusion here is about right to reproduce original copies on commission. The conclusion is not about merchandising. So many reasons why answer choice B does not qualify as a strengthening statement. Answer choice D has a similar problem that answer choice A had. The argument is not concerned with what earns higher revenue or what is more profitable. The argument is concerned with who gets what rights. Answer choice E is concerned with what is more easily marketed by publishers. This is out of the scope of the argument, and therefore this cannot qualify as a valid strengthening statement. Answer choice C, if inserted into the argument, would make the conclusion more reasonably drawn. In simple words, C is a valid strengthening statement. C is the correct answer choice.